They say the moon broke that night, but it wasn't the sky that cracked. It was him. In the town of Black Hollow, something ancient had been buried beneath the pines, whispering through the soil, waiting for a soldier named Elias Thorne to come home. Tonight, his blood remembers. Tonight, the curse wakes. You're watching whispering narratives where horror breathes in moonlight, and every story hides a heartbeat. If you can hear the howl, stay till the end. You'll never look at the moon the same way again. The forest held its breath long before Elias did. Black Hollow lay still under a sky-bruised silver, each tree a frozen witness. He'd returned from a war that hadn't ended, just changed uniforms. He thought he'd left monsters behind overseas. He was wrong. The road bent toward his family's old cabin, a sagging relic with one working light and too many ghosts. He parked, stepped out, and listened to the pines hum like old wires. No crickets, no owls. Just that thin hum, like the ground remembering a song. The porch groaned under his boots. He saw claw marks on the doorframe, too even, too deliberate. He drew his pistol, thumb brushing the slide. Then he saw the sky. The full moon wasn't whole. It looked fractured, veined with red like cracked glass. Something inside him twitched, a pulse too deep to be a heartbeat. He tasted metal. And then, in the distance, a howl that didn't belong to any living thing. It came from everywhere and nowhere. The dogs in town answered, then fell silent all at once. Elias stood in the doorway and whispered, "Not again." He didn't know who he was talking to, but the forest did. It answered back. The woods didn't breathe the same after that first howl. Elias stumbled through the needles, vision pulsing between clarity and fever. His hands, no claws, dragged through the soil, gouging trenches like bone plows. The moon painted everything in white fire. He tried to scream, but only a growl spilled out. Every muscle spasmed as if remembering a forgotten shape. His spine rippled beneath his skin. Bones cracked, stretching to fit something ancient. He tasted blood, his own, sharp as coins. He could smell everything, rot, sweat, the copper tang of life drifting from the valley below. It hurt to see so clearly. It hurt to be. Voices rose inside him, layered, whispering, "The blood remembers Elias. We were never gone." Fingernails splintered, skin tore and re-knit into fur. The man in him clawed for mercy, but the beast wanted release. He collapsed, palms sinking into steaming mud. Then it stopped. Silence, enormous, holy. He lifted his head. The forest glowed. He saw the living, pulse in every leaf, the moon's heartbeat reflected in his eyes. He wasn't alone anymore. The choir of the hollow moon sang in his bones. He rose, smoke drifting off his shoulders, fur like shadow, eyes molten gold, and from the valley, the light of a farmhouse. A woman at her porch staring into fog. He moved toward her. The forest parted, afraid to touch him. A child's laughter froze him mid-stride. He fought it, clawed at the earth, until a human voice escaped his throat. "Run, please, run!" Lightning cracked the sky. When he woke, the farmhouse was ash. In the dirt, sigils, faint and glowing, carved long before men built houses here. A word pressed itself into his skull, the hollow moon pact. And from the forest, another howl answered. Female, furious, familiar. Black Hollow woke like a wounded animal. Porch lights flickered like dying eyes. Sheriff Mara Marlowe barked orders through the radio that didn't answer back. She'd seen animal attacks before, never patterns like these. 4 perfect gouges in every wall. Not random, measured. At the firehouse lot, she whispered to herself, "It's older than the badge, and it doesn't care what we call it." Beyond the fog, something vast moved between telephone poles without touching them. The town breathed when it breathed. Deep in the pines, Elias crouched in a ring of stone that pulsed faintly silver. The second howl came closer. Not prey, not warning. Summons. Through the fog stepped Lysa, a she-wolf, scar across her ear, eyes starved gold. She moved like a prayer said by someone who'd stopped believing. He growled, voice scraping through fur. "Name, yours." A reply hummed through the soil. "Liza." The name cracked something inside him. They circled. Once recognition without memory, runes flared under their paws. The air thickened. From the valley below came chanting, human, mechanical, the choir of the hollow moon. Men and women in silver masks, rifles in hand, voices murmuring scripture in reverse. Their leader, Calder, held a crooked staff engraved in runes. "The bloodline wakes in a soldier's skin," he said. "Economy of the divine." They hammered silver rods into the ground. Wires hissed. Lightning without sky. Lysa growled. Elias's claws twitched. The earth betrayed them. Bolts of light tore through the clearing, pinning fur to soil. The air reeked of metal and ozone. The silver veins sang. "Do not run, Thorne," whispered the voice inside him. "Kneel," he roared instead. The wire snapped. Lysa bit through another. The forest gasped relief. Calder smiled. "Mine, yours. Pronouns are for the uninitiated." He raised the staff. "Kneel." The ground obeyed. Both wolves fell. Puppets cut from strings, and the hunt truly began. Gunfire rolled like thunder through the trees. Each shot curved toward the buried web of silver humming underfoot. Marlowe fired and watched bullets bend away. The ground was magnetized. Wanted the blood back. Elias sprinted through fog, half beast, half memory. Bullets grazed him. Silver burned, but sang. Calder's staff pulsed, runes sinking with the veins below. "This geometry keeps the world clean," he called. "You mapped a grave," Elias snarled, "and forgot to bury yourselves." He ripped a cable from the soil, threw it. It hit a lantern. White fire burst. Lysa leapt through it, claws finding the soft seam in a zealot's armor. For a moment the soldiers hesitated. Their blood recognized her shape. Marlowe saw it. The pattern, the ancestry. They weren't fighting monsters, they were fighting family. The ground glowed brighter. The geometry woke. The silver veins hummed louder, each rune now a lock rearming. "Itself," Elias roared. "Not chain, path!" He plunged his claws into the lattice. The world screamed, light devoured sound. Calder's staff fractured into filaments, wrapping him like mercury. Elias tore the network apart, bone by bone. The web collapsed, devouring itself. When silence returned, he stood in a crater of mist, his skin cracked with light. Lysa crawled. Beside him, half alive, half legend, Calder shaking whispered, "You've undone centuries." Elias smiled through blood. "Good." From the ridge, 100 howls answered. The geometry was dead. The blood was free, and not all of it was friendly. The clearing glowed faint gold now, no longer a prison but a crossroads. Marlowe rose, her badge burned black against her shirt. Calder wept mercury. "You turned ordinance into invitation." Lysa's shadow rippled. "Return is another word." A young zealot stepped forward, showing his silver-sheened palm. "It's in me," he said. "It was always in you," Calder whispered. The moon trembled as if listening. Then the howls came, hundreds, from ridge and valley both. The silver, in everyone's blood, hummed, warm, uncoiling. Calder drove the broken crook into the earth. A seam split open, a stairway descending into darkness. Wind roared up from it, ancient and cold. Marlowe shouted, "Stop! We're done." "No," Calder said. "You've invited the vote." He swung again. The ground screamed. Lysa lunged, taking the blow in her shoulder. Elias answered with violence unrefined, hammering Calder back. The air smelled of rain and ash and forgiveness trying to be born. When the crook finally broke, it sang one last note, a release. The silver grid died. The choir knelt, masks falling like shed faces. Marlowe looked at Elias. End it. He shook his head. Not end. Begin differently. The fissure below them breathed. It waited. The descent felt endless. Each step remembered its maker. Torches lit themselves, inhaling air instead of burning it. At the bottom, a cavern shaped like ribs, murals carved in glowing stone, humans and wolves intertwined through centuries of repetition. At the center stood an altar made of vertebrae, bowl at its crown, filled with metal dust etched with names. The chamber whispered each one, alive and dead alike. When it reached Thorne, Elias's jaw locked. When it said Lysa, the light grew warm. The mural shifted. A woman with a scarred ear lifted her hand and offered a dagger of bone and memory. Elias took it. The blade hummed. Blood binds paths. He let a single drop fall into the bowl. The dust ignited gold. Path, not chain, he whispered. The chamber agreed. Marlowe, the acolyte, and a maskless woman joined them. Each offered something. Blood, salt, law. The runes rose into the air, forming a ring, sigils revolving like planets. Elias carved one more mark, a circle with a point in its center. The ring sealed with a sigh. Above, the forest exhaled. Somewhere, the moon repaired another crack. The dagger hovered, waiting for its next keeper. Now, Marlowe said, we teach the world the shape of its teeth. They climbed back toward light. Black Hollow did not scream. It listened. Porch lights glowed steady. People stood in the street, breathing the same air without knowing why. Calder waited at the tree line, staffless, eyes hollowed. I heard the hum change, he said. Rewrote. The blood, Marlowe replied. New terms. The first newly changed appeared, humans with flickering eyes, trembling at the edge of instinct. No attacks, no panic. The new rule had already been written into muscle. You do not hunt your own street. Elias lifted his head and howled once, steady, anchoring. The sound folded through town like a lullaby for beasts that had forgotten peace. Then headlights roared. A pickup skidded down Main Street, fear driving faster than thought. Marlowe shouted. The truck didn't stop. Elias stepped into the road. One hand on the hood, steel froze mid-scream. He leaned close to the driver. Choose, the man sobbed, and killed the engine. At the school gym, survivors gathered. The choir shed masks, became neighbors. Isa soothed fevered pulses with her warmth. Calder walked among them, murmuring not scripture but simple inventory. Alive, safe, breathing. The acolyte handed out water. Marlowe took notes on a clipboard. Keeper candidates, she wrote. When the wind shifted, something foreign touched it. Wrong. Hungry. Shapes appeared at the end of the street, tall and crooked. Black Hollow remembered the rule's second half. You may hunt what hunts your home. Elias and Lysa stepped forward, rage tempered by oath. The newcomers hissed. The pack answered. The battle was quick, brutal, honest. When it ended, the town was intact and the dark thinner for it. Calder leaned on a bent signpost and laughed once, free of doctrine. Interpretation, he said. You always could, Marlowe replied. A boy approached Elias holding a crude wooden wolf. Are you the monster? He asked. Elias knelt. Sometimes. Tonight I'm the fence. The boy smiled. Can you make it howl? Elias did, softly, privately, a promise disguised as music. Marlowe turned off the final siren. On her clipboard, she wrote the new headline of history, The Hollow Moon Pact, revised by consent. Elias stepped outside, moonlight kissing his scars. He howled again, not for war, but for record-keeping. The ridge answered with every name the chamber had spoken. Black Hollow listened to its blood and did not faint. The night, finally satisfied, learned everyone's name. Months later, travelers, passing the outskirts of Black Hollow, found engines stall near its sign. Locals helped them. One sheriff with tired eyes, one man whose shadow moved like two, one woman with a scarred ear, who smiled as though she'd met her ghosts and made peace. Sometimes, when the moon shows its old cracks, the town steps outside and listens. And from the ridge comes the promise that began it all. We are the fence. We remember you. The hollow moon has set, but its echo stays with you. If you felt the pulse, if you saw yourself in the beast, don't leave the circle yet. Subscribe to Whispering Narratives and walk with us beneath the next moon. There's another story waiting. Another curse to break, another night to survive. Click the moon on your screen, become part of the pact.